Char siu pork tenderloin, pork belly steamed buns, smoke-braised lamb shanks, and tangerine smoked flan. From the DoubleTree by Hilton in Palm Springs, California, I'm Stephen Raichlen, and this is Project Smoke. Think of the great smoking cultures. You think of North America, South America, Europe. Asia is one place where you don't really think about smoking. And yet, in certain countries and certain cultures in Asia, there is a lot of smoking. The Chinese do tea-smoked duck, for example. So I wanted to create a show that focused on Asian flavors and smoke.
Here we go, and action!
Smoke is the soul of American barbecue. In Asia, not so much. I was born in Japan, and while I love the vibrant flavors of Asian grilling, I miss the aroma of wood smoke. Today, we bring American smoke to Asian barbecue. Up first, Chinese char siu. Char siu literally means fork roast. In days gone by, Chinese cooks would skewer the pork on a barbecue fork and roast it over a charcoal brazier. I wanted to bring the live fire element back to char siu and add the fragrance and flavor of wood smoke. For pork, I'm using tenderloin. You could also use boneless strips of pork shoulder. What's important is to leave the fat intact. You want the fat in place so that as the pork smokes, fat will melt. Baste it, keep it moist. Now the pork gets a double blast of flavor in char siu. First they rub, and we start with brown sugar, black pepper, and Chinese 5-spice powder. Now this is a blend of star anise, fennel seed, cinnamon, ginger, and black pepper. The formula varies from region to region in China. And I like to mix the ingredients for the rub with my fingers. That way, if there are any lumps in the brown sugar, I can break them up. So you want to sprinkle the pork on all sides with the rub, and just rub the seasonings into the meat with your fingers. That's your first layer of flavor. Of course, we always keep our meat on ice outdoors. The next step is to make the marinade. It starts with honey, and you'll see what you're doing is playing with a sweet and salty flavor combination. Salty from soy sauce, sweet flavor hoisin sauce, which is a Chinese condiment made with soybeans, and it is sweet and anise flavored. And next, Chinese rice wine, and you know what you can do is just pour the rice wine in the dish that held the hoisin sauce, and that way you can rinse out the dish and get all of the hoisin sauce. Next, for a nutty flavor, Chinese roasted sesame oil, and finally, oyster sauce, which gives you a lovely briny flavor. And whisk the ingredients together to mix. So now, I'm going to pour the marinade over the pork tenderloins. And turn the tenderloins so you coat all sides with marinade. You get a really nice nutty fragrance from the sesame oil and the anise scent of the 5-spice powder. Now marinate the pork overnight. Char siu is often roasted in a vertical oven. I'm going to use an upright barrel smoker. And the first step is to fill the coal pan with 3/4 of the charcoal. Then lower it into the bottom of the smoker. I've lit the remaining 1/4 of the coals in a chimney starter. And what you want to do is pour the coals on top of the unlit coals. This will give you a top-down burn. It's great for a slow, steady, even cook. put the crossbars in the cooker and you'll hang the meat from the crossbars. Here are the pork tenderloins that have marinated for 12 hours. Now you want to push a hook through the head of each tenderloin. And we'll hang the pork tenderloins in the cooker. So raise the pork tenderloin to drain off the marinade, then hang it on the smoking rod. And now the Project Smoke Twist will add a chunk of cherry wood to generate wood smoke. You notice that I lowered the wood in with tongs, didn't throw it in. You don't want to stir up ash that could coat the pork. Cover the cooker. Cooking time, about 1 hour. Now take the remaining marinade and pour it into a saucepan. Boil it for 3 minutes, and you can serve it safely as a sauce. Wow, check those out. They're beautiful. Use this tool with the eyelet at the end to help you pull out the hooks. Then you want to remove the hooks from the pork tenderloin. Remember, they'll be hot, so wear a glove. And then cut it sharply on the diagonal into thin slices. Look at that. You see, you've got a smoke ring around the edge of the pork. It's tender. The cleaver glides through the meat, and it's just beautiful, moist, as you could wish for. And then here is that reduced marinade that I'm going to serve as a sauce. And I'll just spoon this over the char siu. Finally, a sprinkle of thinly sliced scallion and toasted sesame seeds. So there, my friends, is your char siu. Let's see how we did. This is so good. The sweetness of the hoisin sauce and honey, the salt of the oyster sauce and the soy sauce. It's smoky, it's crusty, the meat is moist. This is my favorite way to eat pork tenderloin.
How are we doing? Perfect. Good job. Got it.
We need some wood chunks.
You just cut everything, you know, on pull to sheet trays.
And ready, go.
When I was growing up, pork belly meant bacon. Our next dish puts a barbecue spin on a Chinese classic, smoked pork belly steamed buns. The pork belly steamed bun is the Chinese version of a Carolina pulled pork sandwich. Instead of using pork shoulder, you're using pork belly, which has a luscious mouthfeel, great rich flavor. And instead of the white bread sandwich, you're using a steamed bun. For barbecue sauce, the vinegar sauce of the Carolinas becomes a sweet, salty hoisin-based barbecue sauce. This is a 5-pound section of pork belly. The first step is to score it in a crosshatch pattern. Each cut is about 1/4 inch deep. So we go in one direction, and then we'll come back in the other direction. And scoring serves two purposes. It helps the spice and smoke penetrate the meat, and it helps release some of the fat. Now the rub. Brown sugar, salt, black pepper, 5 spice powder, that wonderful anisey flavored spice mix from China, and onion powder. Mix the ingredients for the rub with your fingertips, breaking up any lumps in the brown sugar. Sprinkle the rub over the pork belly. and rub it into the meat with the palm of your hand. This may give you a little more rub than you need. Store any extra in a sealed jar away from heat and light. It's really great with any sort of smoked or grilled pork. In keeping with our Asian theme, we're using a ceramic cooker made in Indonesia. And it has a hinged lid and these super thick ceramic walls, which really hold in the heat, plus a seal to keep in moisture. The advantage of these cookers, a long, slow burn at a very even temperature. I'll add a chunk of cherry wood to the fire. Smoke adds an additional layer of flavor and complexity to a pork belly. It brings you closer to the realm of bacon, but you still have the natural sweetness of roasted pork. Close the lid and lock it in place. Adjust the vents to obtain a temperature of 250 degrees. Cooking time about 4 hours. Meanwhile, let me show you how to make a Chinese barbecue sauce. The Chinese barbecue sauce starts with hoisin sauce, a sweet, salty condiment made with soybeans, rice wine, honey, soy sauce, sesame oil for a nutty flavor, then finely chopped ginger, cilantro, and scallion white. And whisk these ingredients together until well blended. Simmer for about 5 minutes. This barbecue sauce, it's sweet and salty, just the way an American barbecue sauce would be. In the United States, we would use ketchup. Here they use hoisin sauce. So subtle variation in ingredients gives you a totally different ethnic character. Ah, look how beautiful that looks. And thanks to the cross-hatching, you see how the fat just sort of pops up in crispy diamonds. So it looks done. We'll check the internal temperature. You want to cook pork belly quite well done. I want to be about 190. We're there. Then the easiest way to slice this, we'll cut it in thirds. Look at that, the knife just glides through the pork belly. And then I'm going to cut each third crosswise into slices about 1/4 inch thick. The aroma is so incredible. And look how luscious this looks. These are steamed buns. They're made with a white flour dough that is leavened both with yeast and baking powder. That's why they're so light. I like to think of the steamed bun as the Asian analog to that soft hot dog roll you get on a New England lobster roll. Okay? It's soft, it's sweet, it's comforting, great foil to the meaty pork belly and the crisp cucumber and scallion. To assemble these, we'll take a slice of pork belly, lay it on the bun, and then a couple of shredded cucumber slices, some finely chopped scallion, our hoisin barbecue sauce, This is insane. The soft bun, the crispy pork, the crunchy cucumber, the sweet barbecue sauce. There is so much going on in this sandwich. No wonder it's a Chinese classic. Lamb shanks pack loads of flavor, but like all extremities, they require a low heat and long cooking time to become tender. Did someone say low and slow? I give you the Project Smoke version of Chinese red-cooked lamb shanks. Red cooking is a traditional Chinese braising method used for tough meats. In traditional braising, you cook the meat in a sealed pot. I thought, let's take the cover off the pot, but leave the meat in the liquid and cook it in a smoker. So you'd get the flavor-enhancing power of the smoke, the slow, gentle cooking of the smoker, and the moisturizing effect of the braising liquid. It's really cool. These lamb shanks weigh about 1.5 pounds each. And the first step is to prick them all over with a sharp implement. This will help the marinade get absorbed into the lamb. And I'm placing the lamb shanks in a heavy cast iron Dutch oven. Next, the marinade. Start with 2 cups of warm water. Add soy sauce, shaoxing, that's Chinese rice wine, brown sugar, sesame oil for that distinctive nutty flavor, star anise. It's a spice found in southern China and northern Vietnam. Has this wonderful smoky, anisey, licorice flavor. It's one of the defining flavors of Chinese red cooking. Another defining flavor, cinnamon sticks. And finally, fresh tangerine peel. And this is the oil-rich outer rind, also known as the zest. Whisk the marinade to dissolve the brown sugar and pour the marinade over the lamb. In traditional Chinese cooking, the lamb would be braised, that is, cooked in a covered pot with water at a low temperature for a long time. We'll cook the smoke-braised lamb shanks in a pellet smoker. Now, the way a pellet smoker works, there's a hopper in the back. These are cherry wood pellets. They're actually made of compressed sawdust. So you simply put the pellets in the hopper, and then you want to set the temperature working between 225, 250 degrees, and there is a digital control right here for setting that temperature. This is the actual cook and smoke chamber. What happens, the pellets are ferried to a burn chamber underneath the grate, and that's where they're burned. They produce both smoke and heat. And just set the kettle right in the center of the smoker. Now, notice in traditional braising, the pot would be covered. I want to leave the pot open so that the smoke will flavor the lamb. That's why I call this technique smoke braising. Smoking time, about 8 to 10 hours. Remember, these are tough to start with, but they're going to be so tender, you can eat them with a spoon when we're done. So after about 6 or 8 hours, check the lamb. And if it looks like too much of this braising liquid has cooked down, simply add a little bit more water. You want to keep about 1.5 inches of liquid at all times.
This is where the magic happens. We can look at each individual camera, signal hits the scope, hits the monitor output, and then I have confidence to know that everything's beautiful looking.
Ready and go.
Wow, check this out. It looks fabulous. I wish you could smell this, that scent of cinnamon star anise. Really incredible. So how do you know the lamb is cooked? Well, first of all, you can see the meat has shrunk back from the ends of the shank bones by at least 3 inches. And then the meat, it's tender enough just to pull off with tongs. Mm. Mm. And then you want to ladle some of this luscious broth over the lamb. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Now, as I cut in, you see this red layer right under the crust? That is the smoke ring. That's the red badge of honor in barbecue. This slow smoking process has turned the lamb, it's almost like meat candy. I love red cooked lamb, that sweet, salty flavor of the soy sauce and the honey and the sesame oil. And this smoke takes a great dish and just transports it to the stratosphere. I wanted to include a dessert in this show, and I thought of a tangerine cinnamon smoked flan. Flan is a custard. The Chinese love custard, and many types of dim sum are based on custard. Flan is cooked low and slow in a moist environment. Traditionally, you use what's called a bain-marie. You place the flan in a pan with hot water in the oven. And the idea is that this steaming water keeps a low, even heat so the custard won't curdle. Low and slow? Well, that made me think, why not cook the flan in a smoker? The results are off the charts delicious. To prepare the flan, first make the caramel. Place the sugar and 1 cup water in a heavy saucepan. Cover the pan and cook over high heat for 2 minutes. Then uncover the pan and cook the sugar until it's a dark golden brown, gently swirling the pan so the sugar browns evenly. This will take about 4 to 6 minutes. Carefully pour the caramel into the ramekins, rotating each to coat the bottom and sides. Breathe a sigh of relief. The hard part is over. Let the caramel cool until hard. Making the custard, place the sugar, whole eggs, egg yolks in a large heat-proof bowl and whisk just to mix. Place the milk, half and half, salt, cinnamon stick, vanilla bean, and tangerine zest in a heavy saucepan and heat until very hot but not boiling. Gradually whisk the hot milk mixture into the egg mixture. Strain into a large heat-proof glass measuring cup. Discarding the cinnamon stick and vanilla bean. Let the custard cool slightly, then pour it into the caramel-lined ramekins. I'm using an electric smoker preheated to 250 degrees. For flavoring, use your favorite fruit wood. Place the ramekins in the smoker and smoke until the custard is set. This will take 1 to 1¼ hours. To test for doneness, poke one of the ramekins. When the flan jiggles, not ripples, it's cooked. Transfer the flans to a wire rack to cool to room temperature. Then refrigerate for at least 4 hours or as long as overnight. To serve the flans, run the tip of a paring knife around the inside of each flan. Place a plate over the ramekin, invert it, and shake until the flan slips loose. Sweet, smoky, and perfumed with tangerine and cinnamon. This flan is absolutely amazing. So that's our show on Asian smoke. Char siu pork, pork belly steamed buns, smoke-braised lamb shanks, and tangerine smoked flan. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
What if this is the top? I think that's the top. What the heck, Denise? I knew that. At some point I knew that. I'm from Australia. Everything's upside down. That's what happened.
Scoring helps the meat absorb the spice and smoke flavor. I gotta do that again.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
Sporing.